Today we're going to talk about blobs, human blobs. Drawing human figures in sketches, I reckon, as scary as public speaking for some. But I'll show you a simple way to add human figures into a sketch, and then I'll go out and do a urban sketch out there with this concept in mind, to show how you can actually add human figures into your sketches very easily using this concept of blobs. So I've just shown an example where we start with a blob, and then we add the head and the hands and legs as we see fit. Now I'm doing three sort of a family blobs, if you like. Smaller head for the child, and then I suppose daddy and mommy. Add the leg, maybe a dress for the lady. I think that's a little bit too fat on her legs. I don't think she would like that. So let's correct that, dry that up, and give her a slimmer leg. All right, that's blobs of a family. Maybe another example of a torso, a blob, that is another blob next to it, and that's just two friends talking, maybe somebody carrying something. And you can see the legs are sort of like a V or a triangle shape at the head. You could do the head, in the beginning or at the end. It's really up to you. But the idea is to just, making blobs and making readable figures, right? Now this just somebody who is doing something, bended, heads looking forward. Well, let's do a final example. Maybe three blobs, one here, and one, so two against one, head slightly bended, two of them talking to each other, and one looking, maybe they are shaking hands, so old friends, haven't met for a long time, again at the legs. Now how difficult is that, right? So that's the whole idea. Well, let's go. This is a place that I'll be sketching along with the weekend sketches here in Singapore. Joyce Wong runs the group, fantastic group. And I did a video recently about the 100th outing of the weekend sketches. But anyway, this place is called Yen Kit Playground. I'm not quite at the playground, and this is the spot where I'm going to sketch. I'm going to use this photograph. You will find it in the reference. I'll put a link below where you can also sketch along if you like, for Yen Kit. But I think today it's really about adding blobs into our watercolor sketch. So let's go. Okay, so while I'm drawing, let me tell you a little bit about the history of this place. The Yen Kit area, which is famous for its swimming pool, once it was the nation's, Singapore's largest swimming venue. It was closed in 2001, but it was built, in 1952 at a cost of about $500,000, Singapore dollars at that point. It was the second public swimming pool at that point, and it was one of those most popular places where people come and swim. The building was a bit of a Art Deco's architectural style, and it had flat concrete roof, curved walls, and it has round windows and perforated blocks. Very interesting place actually. It's quite sketchable, but today it's quite it's not very used. When we were sketching here, there was a group doing yoga in the middle on a patch of grass. Well, interesting to see people are still using it, but it was a pool here at that much earlier stage. Okay, back to the drawing. I'm trying to put a little bit more definition for the gondola up in front, the little building with green roof, and has a little poster that says "Don't feed the pigeon." And there's lots of people walking about. I found myself a little sort of cozy corner where I could sit, and there's a table in the park, and I'm just enjoying the shaded sort of morning. It's not very hot yet at this point, and I was just enjoying myself drawing basically. But I did want to highlight the fact that I fully intend to use the blob to put in the figures. Like I said, you could draw the architectural elements in your urban sketches, the buildings and so on, but by putting some figures, it does come alive. And most of the time when we are afraid to put figures in, I highly suggest the technique using the blob, which is, you know, kind of just representative, the symbols of human figures in your drawing, right? This is something that you can practice just a blob over and over again, so finally when you put it in, you could actually make it look like seamless, if you like. The materials I use for this today is very simple, just a couple of travel brushes with my water brush. I always carry with me my small palettes, and then there's also 2 water container, one to clean the brush and one for clean water. I find that that's the easiest and simplest way to carry my stuff around. Okay, at this point I'm thinking, well, we're gonna do a very, very blur and splashy background. Have fun, play with it. Don't worry about precision, don't worry about anything, but just smack it on. So you're gonna see me play around with, very loose background. I almost, I'm getting ready at this point. Almost gonna flood the sketchbook as if it's the old swimming pool of young kid. You'll see. One of the things to note is that when you are painting watercolor, especially if you're trying to do loose watercolor, always use the bigger brush first and hold on to it for as long as you can. In other words, you want to go to small brushes towards the end, but not in the beginning. You want to start big and a bit callous, a bit loose, a bit simply, if you like. So you can see that I'm, using very watery washes, just slapping down some broad strokes, mimicking the shadows or the lines, if you like. If you look at the buildings behind, the gondola, you see that there is actually some dark lines, and I'm just giving an impressions of those same lines. I try to be as accurate on the gradient or the degree against the sketchbook. If you look at the horizon line and then the lines, the dark lines that you see in the building in the back, that's roughly, trying to be as accurate as I can with the angle, if you like. At this point, did I count how many lines and count how big the lines are and so on and so forth? Well, no, I was just whacking some browns, and I'm whacking some green, light green for the trees on the left hand side. There's a couple of greens I thrown in, a good mix of green gold with lemon yellow, as well as some phthalo green with some green gold mixed, and then I spritzer and make it as wet like a swimming pool as best as I can, letting the pigment melt and swimming away. That the idea is to water down the backdrop, the background, so that it's not well defined. The edges are soft or even melted away, and so on and so forth, if you like. I splatter some blue, cobalt blue that is, into the mix. It's making a mess. I enjoy it. Well, the mess is actually part of the fun. And I continue to put on some of my favorite colors as well. That is quinacridone rose. That makes purple if they mix. If they don't, your eyes will mix it in the style of impressionist, if you like. Already it's an explosion of colors, and you can see you're having a lot of fun. Anybody who walked past watching me doing this will know that I'm just a little boy playing with my color at this point. All 54 years old of me playing like a 2-year-old kid. I let my brush just dance around all the time, drying up my brush by flicking it on the floor. It's a patch of grass, so and I am picking up excess moisture all the time. So although I'm loading lots of water onto the page, you may not be able to see it, is slightly slanted at a gradient. I have a little basically my pencil sharpener at the bottom of the top part of the sketchbook. It's slanted, the water is flowing downward, and it is just giving me a little bit of control, if you like, using gravity for the pigments to flow mostly downward. Some pigment surprisingly is anti-gravitational. And I drop in a bit more of the reds. They are basically a bit of cadmium orange, cadmium yellow, and a bit of a cadmium red too. Very, very small amount of it. And I'm just splattering, and I'm just making a mess of it, and I'm just enjoying myself, basically. You see the colors vibrant, and it's very but when it dries, it actually gets a bit more muted, and the mutedness of those colors will push the background to the back. The intention is not to compete for the background with the foreground. You want to have foreground being soft and mushy, and the foreground being very sharp, defined, and with a bit stronger pigment. In other words, more pigment loaded, and that gives it a bit more definition as well. Now I'm just going in to draw some little definition of the background. Again, I'm just being careful not to be too defined. I try to soften where I can, and just to give it a bit of definition and not too much, basically. Otherwise, it will compete with the foreground later. It will just make it harder, sort of, to differentiate between foreground and background. Some dark spots, and just to give it a bit more definition as well. There's multiple layer. Well, actually I've lost bulk of the definition if you see, because I've wetted too much, I think, the background, but never mind. Remember one thing though, when the watercolor dries lighter by about 20 to 30%. So if you see that it's a bit darker than it should, then it's probably correct, because it will dry lighter, as you could see earlier with the background splash. That's the case. Even if you have to define the background a few times and just draw it a little bit, with very wet and watered down pigment, yeah, that's alright, because as long as it's watered down, I think the separation of the space, if you like, front and back, foreground, background, will be pretty good. The element of space is an important one, because space define basically the spatial awareness when you look at a sketch, to give it a bit more three-dimensional. Don't overdraw, don't overpaint. Soft diffuse good, a bit too defined, not good. Basically I'm trying to draw a little bit more definition to the background, but I'm trying to avoid overdoing it. It's very easy to overdo it, because I think that when you draw something with watercolor, there's a tendency to want to draw every single leaf and every single atom into the page. It will take you forever if you draw every atom and every bits and bobs, right? So the whole idea is just to keep it loose, keep it broad shape, and so on. It's a sketch, right? It's not a painting. And a sketch requires a little bit less time, a little bit more loose, and be a bit more splattery, and so on and so forth, right? The colors at the back melting away has already helped in pulling together the sketch somewhat, making it interesting, because colors gets lots of glory, and it does makes it more interesting as well, clearly. Oh, another interesting thing about the swimming pool at Yan Kit was, when it first started, the entrance fee was only 15 cents. Yes, you heard that right, 1.5. Oh, my inflation has clearly really kicked in. 15 cents per entry, that is, and it was obviously usually packed in those days. There was only standing room in the pool, and they even imposed limit to how long you can stay in there. I think it was 2 hours. So for those of you who experienced that, leave a comment in below if you have if you know this place well, or grew up in this area, or grew up with your experience swimming in Yan Kit swimming pool. Alright, the next part for me, I was just going to put in some definition of some I would say foreground symbols of the top of the vegetation or the plants, just to indicate that there are some actually green plants on the left hand side, and I didn't want to put too much definition at the bottom of the plant, but on top I did want to make sure that people recognize it as the plant symbol. I use the word symbols intentionally, because symbols are what you're doing. You are putting down symbols. Symbols are recognizable. They are like icons. They are like traffic lights of red, amber, green. They are like things that are easily recognizable by your audience. And if you want people to recognize them as plants or greens, leaves, then just do a bit of a flickering of like leaf-like structure at the top, and you can get away with other things, whatever you do at the bottom part of the plant. That's intention. They are just symbols, and as long as people can read them, in other words, it's readable, you are off doing whatever else you want with other parts of the shape. Why did I use such a loose, watered down green, muted green as well? Well, because that's going to be layered as well. So just to give it a bit of definition, first layer being muted and a bit more sort of grayed out green, if you like. Okay, well, here we are halfway through the sketch. I'm ready to put in some more of the foreground items. The green will go in first because, or actually, if I have a bit more time, I would have layered a few colors down. But anyway, I'm just going to be lazy. I'm just going to start drawing the main stuff in front and fix it as I go. Using the dark green, which is consisting of phthalo green with blue shades, and that mixed down a little bit with a bit of blue, I think. Throw that in. And I'm just kind of drawing. I'm doing things I tell people not to do. I'm drawing the roof of the gondola in, and yeah, and I'm just putting down lines and also the dark part, the shaded part of the inside of the gondola, and that's darker. You know, when you want to mix a shadowed green, you just have to throw in a bit of red. In this case, I put in a bit of permanent alizarin crimson, and that gives it a bit of a shadowed dark green, if you like, and that became the shadowed part of the shape of the roof, if you like. Well, this video is pretty much in real time. I haven't speed up any part of the video. I'm just gonna let it roll. Anyway, I'm just a little bit lazy, too lazy to shift the video footage and so on. Since I have it, I'm just gonna run it. And if you do need to speed it up, you always have the options of playing at faster speed on YouTube, 1.25 to 1.5 and so on and so forth. Anyway, yeah, so I'm just keeping keep going. I'm drawing the lines, drawing the roof, and just doing a bit of the shadow part. At all point, I'm thinking, okay, how I'm going to sort of make sure that people can read the shadow, they can read the top, and so on and so forth, right? And putting in the chairs, which are also shadowed part of the sketch. Okay, now I'm ready to put in some red. When you want a bit of strong contrast with green, you put red. With red, you put green. They are Christmas color. They are there for a reason, because they are complementary and they are just gonna pop when next to each other, right? So the red, I don't really just put red for the whole thing. I leave a bit of highlight. Maybe later on I'll put in some orange or yellow and so on. Yeah, the red, as you can see, like cherries in the middle of the green leaves, it's already in a way popped, if you like. It makes it interesting. I already realized there's so many mistakes I've made in this process, but anyway, the whole intention of this sketch today is to show you the blobs. So I'm just going to quickly go and finish up the rest and show you how I use blobs. I've already indicated the human figures with pencil. And you will see that later on when I put the blobs, they are just going to be precisely where those pencil lines are, but they are sort of loosely laid down, if you like. And all the while, my brush is dancing here and there, dropping a little bit of definition, drawing some the gondola's pieces of the rails. Well, they're not quite guard rails, if you like, and a bit more of the benches, a bit more of the various furniture, if you like, that they have underneath the gondola. Sketch is going to be just a little too loose for my liking. I'm thinking already that I probably will put some pen line over later, and to give it even more definition. Anyway, I don't have pink in my palette, so I dilute down permanent quinacridone rose, and that gives it a bit of pinkish hue, if you like, and then draw around those shapes. I'm still using my big brush at this point. I'm sorry, I've switched over to my smaller brush. So there you go, the two blobs on the right and one blob on the left, and the hand, the head, and the heads of the two blob in on the right hand side. That's it. That's really all you need to do to put figures into your sketch. The thin legs so that they're not too fat. Yeah, and as you can see, that in itself is just the simplest way of putting down figures in a urban sketch on site without having to deal with drawing the nose, drawing the eyes, and so on and so forth. You know, at that distance, when you're looking at the figure, there is no way that you can draw the nose and the eyes and the dilating pupils and whatnot. It's not possible. It's too small. So why don't just simplify and put a couple of blobs and a couple of heads and some arms and some legs, and you know, it reads as figures, right? Your eyes, your audience can see it as figure. As simple as that. Right, so now I'm just using the small brush to do some rigor sort of work. Rigors are just long, thin watercolor brush, which I don't have, so I just have to make do with my small brush to act as if it's a rigor. Obviously, there'll be mistake because there'll be some fat lines here and there, but yeah, anyway. Yeah, so now I'm going in to put in some light green to fill up the whites, which is a little bit ghastly at this point, but I'm still leaving some white to give it a sense of a sense of light hitting off the top part, and you know, reflection, if you like. Halfway through, I'm gonna go over some parts in the back, jumping over some of the front to make sure that there's ability for the front to pop. Sometimes when you use a shape at the back, it pushes the foreground to the front. It doesn't necessarily have to be dark in front and light at the back. It can be, in this case, if you see that I use dark shapes at the back to push the lighter shapes to the foreground, to the front. Once you sort of understand how the rules work, or sometimes the rules work in reverse as well. I'm going in with a bit of a darker line, darker sort of colors at this point. It's a mixture of green and red, phthalo green with permanent alizarin crimson. That's my darkest staining colors that I have on my palette, actually. I'm using it just to very sparingly, very lightly, touches here and there, to give it a sense of dark, darkest dark, if you like. It can very easily go overboard, I think, and most of the time when you go overboard, you tend to lose the sketch because it became too dark or too mid-tone or whatever it may be. Now I'm going in with my fountain pen, loaded with a basically my Diatramentis. I'm using my Sailor Fude nib, bended nib, and I'm using the fountain pen to give the figure a bit more definition. Basically the sketch more definition. I'm thinking to myself, foreground, okay to go in with the pen. Background, very lightly, try not to touch any of the background at all. Pen dance its way around. You could see that they are beginning to you know, pop to the front, if you like, and gets a bit of definition. Sometimes when I draw with my fountain pen, I deliberately not go and draw at the right boundary of the colored shape. In other words, I leave some white. As you can see, there is a little bit of space between the color and the line, and it's intentional. I mean, I'm trying to make my sketch more loose. I'm trying to make my sketch more lively, as if there's a lot of mistake and that's done by a human being, not by AI or computer or automated in any way. That is not illustrative. It's actually, you know, made with a lot of I guess imprecision, which is very human in characteristics, and I think that's lovely, right? It's just, you know, the whole idea is just to relax and chill, and you know, just make lots of mistakes. They're not mistakes, they're just happy accidents, like Bob Ross' famous quote. Very imprecisely, intentionally so. And yeah, just give it a bit more definition and dance around, draw in some of the posters. No, do not feed the pigeon, it says. I'm going to write some of the words as well. Can't be bothered with too much of the drawing, but just very loosely, very impressionistic style, if you like. Yeah, even the writing is a little bit off, not, you know, missing some words here and there, not fit. So it says there's a big fine, I think, because I suppose they don't really want the pigeons to be so familiar with people that they will flock to humans whenever they see, or you know, they do a lot of the folks here do a lot of grocery shopping around here, and they don't want the pigeons to attack. I guess if you feed it, it's gonna have a unhealthy expectation of humans, if you like. Well, there's enough food they can scavenge anyway around, and anyway, Singapore is very green, so there's a lot of greenery and I think there are worms around and all kinds of natural stuff which are much better for the pigeon than eating off the hands of human. But well, I think in Singapore it's banned. Anyway, I digress. Let's go back. So now I'm going in with my pen and draw in some more blobs. I have no intention of coloring those, so they look like they are at the back, less defined, even more loose, with just the outline of the head and the torso. Can't see the hands, can't see the arm, can't see the legs, and that's okay. Anyway, the whole lesson is that we can add figures in such an easy way. There's really no stress if you have to put in blobs of figures to make it alive. A bit of definition on the plants, intentionally again not drawing exactly over it, but leaving lots of white, leaving lots of definition into the imagination of my audience, if you like. Write the date, wait for the pen ink and also the color to dry a little bit more, maybe do a bit more fixing, maybe just that's it, right? But am I happy with the sketch? Yeah, it's okay. I mean, the whole idea is that I'm out here having a lot of fun, meeting friends for the weekend. I don't really have a lot of time, so I've only about an hour, including shooting the video and and so on. The commentary came right after. I'm doing this video a week after I've sketched it. Sometimes when you're editing and you're looking at it, you realize that there's sort of areas that needs to be fixed. This is exactly what happened. There's in a shadow area, there's just too much light. Well, if it's shadow, it shouldn't have lights. And so, I went in and fixed that just to give it clarity that it's an area, shadow area. And that the poster is in front, pushes that out. Use a bit of neutral pink to push some of the stuff to the back. And and makes it more readable as to which is front, which is back. I decided to also color the blobs at the back, and so now you see that I have figures and a bit more of definition of the building as well, because that went missing. It was too wet. Just to define a few more dark spots at the back, trying to be sparse and economical with my lines, not a bit stingy if you like to the background. With the foreground, less stingy, background more stingy, with pigment and lines as well. And decided to darken a little bit more of the poster to show that the shadow part on top and the lit part at the bottom, and that gives it a bit more definition. Separate out the poles, the pink poles, by putting some dark spots around it to make it pop a little bit. So a bit of cheating if you like, but well, anyway, not quite cheating. They are just techniques to give your sketch a bit more definition, looking more like three-dimensional with forms. To stop right here and not talk too much. I think I'm almost there. Anyway, evaluation, jumping around, doing a bit of touches, using lines as in very lightly, very watered down pigment lines, just give it a bit more bits and bobs if you like. And all the time though thinking about what else, but not too much. Sort of those are the two thoughts that's going through my head at this stage, right? What else, but also not too much. Sort of the two bookend or two boundaries, if you like, of trying to finish up and wrapping up the sketch. So here it is, the finished product, dried, with blobs of figures thrown in. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope you try the blobs into your sketch. If your sketch has never had figures, throw some blobs in. Easiest as anything, it's really easy. It's just, it's like walking in and buying fried chicken without having to, rear the chicken and slaughter it and fry it. KFC in Singapore, that is. Anyway, so easy to do human figures. Can't ask for any other recipe, but this is it. So I hope you enjoyed that. I think you should just maybe for me, I'll go around and say hi to some of the sketches. Nice first cut.
You cannot sketch anymore.
Correct. Jeff. And of course, here's Joyce.
Hey, hi.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video. And I'll see you in the next one. So now get out of here. Bye. Stay safe wherever you are.